Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the national colors and playing of the national anthem.
Stand by. Ho! Take. Ho! 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 Forward. Ho! 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 Reset. Ho!
Remain standing for the opening prayer by Dolores Mack.
Dear God, we are grateful to you for this precious time to assemble, to give glory to you and for giving us a chance to honor our outstanding women veterans and service members. They embody our military's core values of loyalty, dedication to duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. They are the living example of an indomitable spirit and can-do attitude of our military members. We thank them, we respect them, we honor them, and we are so very proud of them. We pray that you will watch over all of us as we honor them on this special day, and we ask that you please grace us with your protection and blessings every day. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Let us thank the award-winning U.S. Air Force Honor Guard from Travis Air Force Base for raising the colors like they always do so very proudly to honor our veterans. Service members and our country's protocol dictate that they do not wear name tags, and we cannot state their names, but let us give them a big round of applause. Let us also thank the award-winning U.S. Army Band of the Golden West from Travis Air Force Base. Thank you to the Technical Sergeant Sarah Carter on the flute, Staff Sergeant Jay Seti on the basin, Staff Sergeant Catherine Stites on the wool, and Staff Sergeant Jonathan Anderson on the horn, and Senior Airman Chester Howard on the clearing of the beautiful playing of the national anthem. The band will perform a service of song melody later, and we will have a contest on who is the loudest to sing the song of the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Space Force, and the Coast Guard. Thank you, Dolores Mack, for delivering the opening prayer. Dolores proudly served in the United States Air Force and the United States Navy and retired as a chief after 20 years of distinguished service. Dolores has been a museum volunteer for the last 12 years. When Nestor and Trevor asked her to do the prayer, she got her uniform on just as for this occasion. Doesn't she look amazing? Yes. Are we ready?
Yes.
Are we excited?
Yes.
Let us first express our gratitude to everyone here today, all veterans and all service members. Please wave your hand. Let's give them a hand. We thank you for proudly serving with loyalty, dedication, and honor to the United States of America. How about the families, the friends, or the caregivers of our troops and veterans? Please wave your hands and let's give them a round of applause. Let me now introduce Trevor Allen, the Executive Director of the Vallejo Naval and Historical Museum, to briefly welcome everyone.
Actually, before I say anything, because this is not about me, this is about the women who served. Chief Mack, can you come back up here for a second? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Once again, I'm here, and I want to tell you, I'm 90 years old. It's indeed a pleasure to be here as a part of this ceremony. Women have been volunteering for years. We've been volunteering since the Civil War, the World War I, World War II, even the Gulf War. We've been everywhere. And I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to look at all the faces in this auditorium. I have been through a lot. I've seen a lot of women who have risen in the ranks and have served the country, and very proud to do so. I'm very proud to be a part of the military, and I want everyone to know that. I've seen people move up to become generals, rear admirals. We even have a destroyer named after a woman, USS Grace Hopper, and I thank her for that. And guess what? We even have women on submarines. So we've come a long way, baby. We really have. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity just to thank everyone who's in the audience, families, members, friends, and even those who are not a part of this unit and a part of the museum. Let's say I'm very proud to be a part of the museum, and thank you for coming, and I wish you all well and Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Mack.
Very good.
Okay, I'll keep it brief and I'll stay on script. Thanks, Nestor. It says here, Trevor Allen says, all right, I'm supposed to. Good afternoon, veterans, service members, families, friends, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trevor Allen, Executive Director of the Naval and Historical Museum, and I welcome you. The museum is extremely proud to host today's event as we start to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act of 1948, which enabled women to serve as permanent, regular members of the armed service. Now, our mission here is to preserve and exhibit the diverse and exciting history of the city of Vallejo and the former Mare Island Naval Shipyard. And I invite all of you to see the over 25,000 square feet of exhibits maintained in 5 galleries. Now, let me introduce, this is the reason we're here, let me introduce our Master of Ceremonies, who's already been talking to you, so I'm going to embarrass her here. Delphine Metcalf Foster is a lifelong resident of Vallejo. She was the 2017 and 18 National Commander for the 1 million member Disabled American Veterans. As a member of many federal advisory committees, she's advocated for more than 60 established policies in effect at women's clinics nationwide. Congressman John Garamendi, our local congressman now, is so impressed with Delphine, our local shiro, that he has introduced a bill, H.R. 251, to name the Mare Island Veterans Affairs Outpatient Clinic as the Delphine Metcalf Foster VA Clinic, where she volunteers. Without any further ado from me, ladies and gentlemen, Delphine Metcalf Foster.
Thank you, Trevor. On just as for this occasion, doesn't she look amazing? Thank you for that introduction. Now I am honored to introduce to you the mayor of the city of Vallejo. Mayor Robert McCollum is a decorated combat veteran who served in Vietnam with the U.S. 9th Infantry O Reliables Division. He was elected to the City of Vallejo Council in 2011 and elected to mayor in November 2020. As a full-time attorney with 3 decades of experience, he specializes in bankruptcy law. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Robert McConnell.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and to you, I want to say welcome to the city of Vallejo, especially those of you who live here and those of you who journeyed here. Yesterday at St. Patrick's Day, I heard a commentary which I think can illustrate why we're here today. And there, the Irish speaker was talking about St. Bridget, who was a notorious Irish saint, who did everything St. Patrick did in the 8th century, but didn't get the credit. So finally, in 2023, we are here to acknowledge the credit that you have all earned and you're entitled to, and being here is a wonderful blessing for the city, so agree. And thank you so very much, and let's get on with this program. Mayor?
I am honored to introduce our California Assembly member for our 11th district. Assemblywoman Lori Wilson was the first Black female mayor to serve County. She's a staunch supporter for our troops, our veterans. In 2022, she authorized Assembly Concurrent Resolution 205, which designates June 12th as Women Veterans Recognition Day. Ladies and gentlemen, Assemblywoman Lori Wilson.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to be here in your presence, and especially in your presence. I had the opportunity to sit by her very early in my political career, just as a vice mayor in Sassoon City, and just the wealth of wisdom that I received when we were in a parade nearby in a neighboring city was so wonderful that at every event I had to go seek her out just to make sure not only to hug her, but just receive as much as I can. And so I know you've all experienced, not only from her, but just as women in this time that we're celebrating Women's History Month, all the contributions that women have given us in so many ways, even from the foundation of the world, right? We would not exist had they not been existing at that time as well. But I think about even in my career as an elected official in Solano County and now in the Assembly, that I've had so many firsts. But it's easy to be the first now. It's easy to be the first now. Well, it's hard to be the first as women in the military so long ago. That was difficult. That was challenging. They were the first when they were the only one in the room. See, I get to the first to have a particular moniker, but I get to serve alongside so many powerful and dynamic women. But there are so many women in this room that served, and they were the only one. They were the first and the only, and they had to pave the way. They had to make sure that others understood what it meant to have childcare, because we were the primary caregivers. What it meant to be a breastfeeding mom. Men didn't have to worry about that. What it meant to be, I remember we were talking about first in the assembly, and they were talking about an assemblywoman who was pregnant on the floor. The first woman pregnant on the floor of the assembly, and how crazy that was. And it was the talk of the town about her suits, how that she had specially made suits for the baby, and just like, oh, did that match decorum? But there's women in this room who you were the only one in the room paving the way for each one of us to saying that women can. Not only can they should. And we should have a seat at the table. And so it's to those women today that I honor, our women veterans, who not only were the first and the only, but also made it so that every single one of us could live a free life. To be able to pursue all the joys of what it means to be a human being in not only this great state of California, but in our nation. To be able to raise a family without fear or hesitation. To be able to just exist and be you. It's the women in the military who fought on the front lines for each one of us. And all did. To the men in the room, we are here supporting women. We recognize you too. But today is about Women's History Month and recognizing the power that exists. The power of creation lies within the woman. And all that she did and created in our service, all that she did to make us live in a free environment. I am thankful. And so as I even was at an event today, people were celebrating my first, I was reminded how easy it is to be a first now, and how hard it was for each of you. And so I thank you for doing the hard thing so that today we can do the easy thing. We have the opportunity as an assembly member to recognize the work and effort, and I'd like to read that I share this with Assembly Member Dodd. We both signed the proclamation or the certificate of recognition that our women veterans will receive, and so I'd like to read that. It's presented to each one of the women selected, and it says, Vallejo Women's Veteran and Service Members, on behalf of the people of the 11th Assembly District, and on behalf of the people of the 3rd Senate District, our offices offer our admiration and respect for your unwavering commitment to protecting and defending our nation. Your dedication to service is a testament to your patriotism and bravery. We extend our sincere gratitude and deepest appreciation for your service and sacrifice. On behalf of the California State Legislature, we extend our best wishes for your continued success. This was bestowed on March 18th, 2023. And as it notes in there, it's just not on behalf of the 11th District and the 3rd District, but truly the entire California State Legislature. We know we would not have the opportunity to serve, have the opportunity to make the level of impact we do without your commitment and sacrifice and your ability to be you in those hard times and in those hard spaces when you were truly either the first or the only. So I thank you and know that my office is here as a resource for whatever you need. We had the opportunity, I've only been in almost a year, not just a year yet, but 7 bills related to our veterans has come before us, and I've had the opportunity to vote aye or co-author those bills. And I look forward to doing many more. And for me, always, I believe that everyone has a right to a high quality of life. Everyone has a right to define what that looks like for themselves. And my job is to facilitate that, my only job. And so for each of you, you just have to let me know what you need and know that I am there for you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Assemblywoman. We started with Assemblywoman Wilson because she may have to leave early for another appointment. Before we continue with our next distinguished speaker, let's also acknowledge another official present. Beside Mayor McConnell, the other Vallejo City official here is Vice Mayor Rosanna Allegra, Councilwoman Christina Arafua, Councilmember Peter Grinter, Councilmember Mia Diaz, Councilmember J.R. Matula, Councilmember Charles Palmers, and City Manager Mike Malone. Let's give all them a hand. The Vallejo City Unified District officers are here. President Christy Garner, Vice President Dr. Latoya Young, and Trustee John Fox, Glenn Amroy, and Carlos Flores, and Superintendent Mr. William Spalding. I'd now like to introduce the Deputy Secretary of the California Department of Veteran Affairs. Ms. Rodriguez Murillo is the primary advisor to CalVet. Secretary to ensure that all veterans have equal access to their earned benefits, regardless of race, ethnic background, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation. She was deployed in 2004 to 2005 to support the Operation Iraq Freedom and still serves as a sergeant in the United States Army Reserve. Let us welcome CalVet Deputy Secretary Rodriguez Murillo.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's a pleasure to join you all today here in the beautiful city of Vallejo. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's always great to be here. And I just feel the motivation across the room to our women veterans. Congratulations, and to family members in the community. Thank you for your ongoing support. Today I am here to read the proclamation on behalf of the governor that he issues each year and every year for our women veterans in support of Women's Military History Week. The history of women's service in the U.S. military includes both struggle and triumph. Women have always played a role in the defense of our nation, yet too often they have faced discrimination and their service has gone unrecognized. During the American Revolution and Civil War, women on the battlefield served as nurses and fulfilled necessary non-combat duties, while others disguised themselves as men to engage in combat. During World War I, women could serve in the U.S. Armed Forces in limited but critical roles, such as nurses and telephone operators. In World War II, roles for women in the military expanded further, and around 350,000 total American women served. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act of 1948, which officially opened the U.S. Armed Forces to women and made them a permanent part of the military. In 2016, women were fully integrated into all combat roles in all military branches. The list of firsts for military women continues to grow. These include Saleha Javeen, the first female Muslim Air Force chaplain, Janina Simmons, the first African-American woman to graduate from Army Ranger School, Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Joanne S. Bass, the first woman to hold the highest senior enlisted rank in any U.S. military branch, and Admiral Linda Fagan, the first woman ever to lead a military branch of service as Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. This year, an all-woman team of Navy aviators from Naval Air Station Lemoore performed a historic flyover for Super Bowl 57. During Women's Military History Week, let us all celebrate the outstanding contributions of military women and show our deepest appreciation and respect for their service and sacrifices. Now therefore, I, Gavin Newsom, Governor of the State of California, do hereby proclaim March 13 to 19, 2023 as Women's Military History Week. Signed, Governor Gavin Newsom. Thank you.
There's two politicians that cannot pronounce the word Vallejo. I guess it doesn't bug me anymore, does it?
All right, folks. And today we have a very special guest joining us all the way from Washington, D.C. So as your liaison to the State Department of Veterans Affairs, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our director for the VA Center for Women Veterans, who's coming all the way from D.C., like I said, Ms. Lourdes Tiglao. Ms. Lourdes Tiglao serves as a primary advisor to the Secretary on Defense Policies and Programs and legislation that affect all women veterans. She oversees the center's activities that include monitoring and coordinating the VA's administration of health benefits and many services for women veterans. She serves as an advocate for cultural transformation, both within the VA and outside in the general public, recognizing the service and contributions of women and service members, and of course raising awareness and of the responsibility to treat women veterans with dignity and respect. Prior to joining the VA, she was the Global Partnerships Manager at Airbnb Open Homes, now Airbnb program, overseeing a globally distributed team and a portfolio of over 70 nonprofits in the private sector and international aid agencies across 6 continents. She focused on strategy, standards, and processes, and strategic partnerships both domestically and globally, while helping to lead the Veterans Employee Resource Groups, ERG functional area and engagement. Her background traverses sectors in the military, federal, and nonprofit organizations spanning over a decade in leadership roles as a mentor, educator, and manager in the U.S. Air Force and the nonprofit environment across business, communications, and healthcare. During her military tenure, she utilized her medical expertise to save the lives during her extensive critical care air and ground transport experience globally on the critical care air transport team. She deployed to multiple locations, including Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Saudi Arabia, the Philippines, and others. And her final assignment was in Okinawa, Japan, where she helped launch the very first critical care attendant team, which provides critical care for medical evacuation services. The effort also officially integrated naval personnel on the team as a joint force effort to serve the Pacific region. After transitioning from the military, Ms. Tiglao developed her disaster skills with Team Rubicon, a veteran-led nonprofit disaster response organization, deploying with the organization during Hurricane Sandy in New York and Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. She later became Team Rubicon Global Strategic Partnerships Officer, connecting the network with government and organizations around the world. A staunch veteran advocate, she is a former member of my VA Advisory Board for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and has sat on several veteran-focused boards to improve service access for minority veterans and enhance their lives through the arts. She has spoken on topics ranging from nonprofit management, medicine, veteran reintegration, humanitarian response, and volunteer mobilization globally, including at the Philippine Embassy, New York, and San Francisco Philippine consulates, the State Department, and as a guest speaker by international television networks, universities, and scientific conferences. And Ms. Lourdes Tiglao has always been an outstanding partner, an exemplary leader, and I'm so very grateful that you're here today, ma'am. We welcome you today. Let's give a round of applause.
I did ask her to cut out a couple of paragraphs. As you can see, podiums are a little bit of my nemesis. So we're going to try this a little bit from the side. First off, thank you so. We're going to do this. How about this? All right. First of all, thank you so much to everyone and just for California having me here again for the second time, I believe. Just the kind welcome. For some of you who don't know, I started my journey here in the U.S., actually California briefly, and then went to the Midwest. And I think before I kind of go into the specific part of the speech, it's a little bit more boring, I should say. I think it's important for some folks to understand where I'm coming from. A lot of you probably do not know me, except for maybe a handful. It's important because when I first got appointed to this role, it's, people don't know me, and I think a lot of folks from the outside always think it's like it's another person who's sitting in the seat and it's just this round robin of people that come through. But for me, as a woman veteran, and you'll hear a little bit about some of the hurdles that I've had to face, it's more than just a role. It's more than just a job. I've walked the walk of some of our women veterans. And so this is personal. The work I do is personal. It's more than a job, it's a mission. And it's one of the things that I'm really proud of with our center, is that everyone that's there, it resonates to them, whether they're a family member or a women veteran. So I don't know about you, but whenever I find some dark times, I find inspiration from other people, particularly through stories. Unfortunately, not a lot of folks tell their stories, especially women veterans. There's unfortunately an underrepresentation of stories of women veterans telling their story. And so here's just a little bit of mine. For many of you who don't know, I am an immigrant from the Philippines, came here to the United States when I was about 10 years old, and came here, did not speak the language. I understood it, I just couldn't speak it, and so there was a lot of hand gestures when I first started. For about the first couple of years, a lot of exasperated hand gestures. So there's probably a lot of Filipinos here in this area, so as you can probably imagine, coming from the Philippines and then going to Indiana, where there's snow, and not being able to speak the language, transition started very early for me. So when I was growing up, as many probably Filipino families can understand, when you're 10 years, by the time you're 10 years old, your family knows what you're going to be. So in my family, they already had me figured out that I'm going to be a lawyer. So everything that I did had to go towards that path. I was successful. Got through high school, got a couple of scholarships, and I was on my way. And after about a year and a half, I was looking around in my apartment. I was like, there's gotta be more to my life than being a lawyer in Indiana. And no offense to any lawyers over here, and no offense to any Hoosiers out here. I still call Indiana home. So that led me to looking at the military and going to try, and I say try, to join the Air Force. When I first applied, I was denied because I was too short. So after a few hurdles of going through the paperwork, I got a waiver and finally got in. So I get in, and then the first thing that comes to my mind is, am I not enough to serve this nation? So, I go through that, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to kick butt in basic and go through. Fast forward a few years later, 9/11 happens. I get a notification that I'm going to get deployed 3 weeks after 9/11. And as you can imagine, for those who remember that, there are probably some of you who are still too young to remember. There was a high likelihood, I was thinking to myself, there's a high likelihood I'm not coming back. Remember, I was an immigrant when I joined the military, and at this point, I still wasn't a citizen. So I'm thinking, if I'm going to die for this nation, I better make sure I'm at least a citizen of this nation that I'm going to die for. And so I put my application in. I come back several months later in 2002 to a telegram that says, we're sorry, your application is denied. I was a little younger, so I was a little bit more temperamental. So I promptly called, and I said, what is this telegram, and why am I getting denied? And they said, we're sorry, ma'am, you missed your DOJ interview, and so you must apply again, and by the way, you have to pay another few $100. Mind you, I was an enlisted folks out here, right? A few $100s is a lot of money for our enlisted folks. So I tried to reason, and after about 10 minutes on the phone, I just hung up on them and drove from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, for those of you who know where that is, to Cincinnati, to the INS building, and demanded to speak to someone who was in charge. At first I said, "Ma'am, how can we help you?" And I said, "I want to speak to someone who's in charge." After a few minutes of wrangling, I finally get someone, and they said, "We're sorry, ma'am, that is the policy. We cannot do anything about it." How many of you have heard that? There's a lot of uh-huhs out there. So, again, a little temperamental. So I said, the only time I'm going to reapply again and pay another few $100s is if you take my spot over there getting shot at, and I take your job over here. 2 weeks later, I'm getting sworn in at Dayton, Ohio, as a citizen. And I say this story because not every woman veteran, heck, not every woman is willing to stand up for what is right, for what is right for themselves, for what is right for the person next to them. It's important because if not you, then who? So, a few years later, I'm thinking, I'm going to hang up my hat and I'm going to join the civilian sector, thinking I'm going to be a physician. But during that time when I was fighting for that citizenship, I could not help but ask, have I not done enough to be a citizen of this nation? Have I not done enough? When I was transitioning out, as I was thinking through my experiences in the military, I couldn't help but ask myself again. My first couple of years of transition was a little rough, admittedly. I couldn't help but think to myself, am I not enough for this nation? There's over 2 million women veterans in this nation who's asking one, some, or all of these questions. It's not just me. There's a lot out there. And that's part of the reason why the Center for Women Veterans exists. We're there not only as advocates for when women veterans are reaching out to us to try to navigate healthcare services, benefits, burial services for themselves, for their family members, but we're also there to advocate for them, to make sure that they have the courage to speak up. We're there to be an advocate for them when they're encountering bureaucratic hurdles through the administration. And let's just face it, VA is a behemoth. I work there and I'm still confused sometimes with some of the navigation. I say this story because in this nation, we are the stories of immigrants, the stories of people of color, stories of people whose English isn't our first language. We are the stories of people who were told blatantly or subtly, you can't. You don't belong here. Women don't belong in this line of work. And so when I was speaking to you earlier in the speech about how this job isn't just a job, it is a mission. It is because I have walked some of that path. It is because I have walked some of those hurdles and had to face some of those hurdles. Women have led the fight for the rights of our country through the start of the history of this country. There's no more notable area where women have contributed than in the nation's military. Women veterans represent approximately about 10% of the entire veteran population, and women are the fastest growing population within the veteran population. While the veteran population is shrinking, the women veterans are increasingly rising at an exponential rate. With that, we have to be responsive at the Department of Veterans Affairs. we have to make sure that we are ready to meet the needs of those women veterans, the evolving needs of women veterans everywhere. The Deborah Sampson Act helped bring a revolutionary change on what we are able to provide our women veterans here at the Department of Veterans Affairs, specifically in healthcare. At the Center for Women Veterans, we have done several things specifically focusing on research, looking at post 9/11 women veterans and unemployment. We have made sure to work through the VA Advisory Committee of Women Veterans, making sure that the voice of the people, the voice of our communities are heard, and that it goes all the way up to the Secretary. We've also worked on advocating for treating women veterans with dignity and respect. Part of that is through the I Am Not Invisible campaign. I'm not sure if some of you have probably heard of it. Maybe have seen some of the portraits, black and white, in the VA medical centers that you might be at. The other part is eliminating sexual harassment and assault. We know that that is an issue. It's pervasive and insidious issue. And it's not just at VA premises. It stems back in the military. It stems back in the bases while we were still serving in uniform. Some people might be uncomfortable hearing about that, but the only way we can change, we can create change, is by facing some of those truths. By facing some of those truths, that's how we tackle it. So with that, in the VA, we have introduced our bystander intervention training so that anyone who is at a VA premise can feel empowered to step in, intervene, and make sure that when they see sexual harassment happening, that they can make sure to stop that activity and make sure that they actually report it up the chain so that we can do something about it. For 2023, the Center for Women Veterans are focusing on 3 specific areas. Empowerment is the theme of the year. Empowerment in economics. First of all, economics through entrepreneurship, and economics in training, specifically STEM field, getting women veterans in STEM fields. Why is that important? Because when we put money into women, the money goes to community. We also know that when there is a household and there is split parenthood, more often than not, the dependents go to our women. With the wage disparity that we know that is between males and females, there is a significant disadvantage. And so for us at the Center for Women Veterans, we are trying to make sure that we encourage women veteran entrepreneurship. There is $600 billion in government contracting that is available. There is a 5% goal for SBA to make sure that government agencies are able to provide women-owned businesses to get some of that. $600 billion. I will let you take out your calculators to figure out how much 5% of $600 billion is. That's a lot. Getting women veterans into STEM fields. We know that STEM fields usually lead to higher potential wage earnings. And so, again, we go back to if we put money into women, money goes to the community. If we put women veterans into STEM fields where there's a higher likelihood that they can work remotely, especially in the tech fields, we're in the San Francisco area. If someone is living in a more socioeconomically depressed community, the money flows from that individual to that community, from that community to the rest. And so it's important that we ensure that we put women veterans in a good footing economically. The other area that we are working at is self-empowerment. You heard a little bit about the IANI campaign that I'm talking about. This year, it's not out yet, but we are working on a different campaign. This one has a little bit more focus on positivity, making sure that we associate self-identification as a woman veteran with a positive message. It'll come out sometime in the summer, so I'm not going to spill the beans. But I just want to share that one of the biggest hurdles we have at VA is finding our women veterans. They are in every nook and cranny of this nation, but we cannot always find them because they will not self-identify. Why do they not self-identify? Various reasons. A lack of trust of institutions, feeling institutional betrayal if they have suffered during their military uniform and they see VA as an extension, then they don't want to raise their hands. And so what we want to make sure is that we empower them to have a more positive association for their service. Less than 1% of the population of the United States serves in the military. A fraction of that 1% are women. No matter how you slice it, that is an elite group who is willing to bear the burden of this nation's defense on that 1%. Just think about that. And that fraction of 1% are women. I highlight this because there's also an area that we're working on, just advocacy and making sure that women veterans are recognized for their contributions. And I absolutely, number one, thank Vallejo and everyone who made this possible in California, because there is not enough recognition for our women veterans' contributions. Quick question in the audience: how many know? How many Medal of Honor recipients are women? One. Okay. And that one, they actually tried to rescind that. Well, actually, they did. And then they had to get it reinstated quite a few decades later. Mary Walker. How many airports have you gone through that are named after women? How many do you think exist? 1.5. I say 1.5 because one's Amelia Earhart, it's a regional airport, and the half is a Bill and Hillary Clinton airport. And I say half because it's attached to a male. And I say this because it's important to note that it's certainly not because women have not contributed to aeronautics. It's certainly because women have not contributed to our nation's defense. They did not. It's not because they did not die for this country. We shed the same tears, emotion, blood. Many have perished with the same patriotism in the past as our male counterparts. But why is it that in the history of this nation there is only one Medal of Honor recipient, one woman worthy of getting a Medal of Honor, and only 1.5 worthy of having an airport named after them? And this is what I'm just telling you the statistics. It's just the statistics, but it's important to highlight this because we have a long way to go, and this is part of why the Center for Women Veterans exists. It's not only to celebrate, it's also to highlight how far we still need to go. CalVets is a great partner for us, making sure that the stories of women veterans are out there, making sure that work is being done from a state level, that services and benefits for women veterans are getting to their homes, to their families, caregivers. Women veterans have been making American history since the start of this nation. Today, and every day of the year, we should be celebrating the contributions of our women veterans with as much fervor as our male counterparts. No one can know the stories of those women veterans if you don't tell it. We have 2 great avenues to do it: the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, as well as the Military Women's Memorial. If you are a women veteran, please consider sharing your story. It's not just for your family, it is for the future generations of leaders, the future generation of women, the future generation of young girls who are looking up to you as inspiration, as role models, Because how can they be inspired to be something beyond where they are if they don't see models of someone who has come before them? I implore you to share your story. Mine is just one of a thread of a million threads of the stories of this nation. So please tell the stories, tell your stories, tell the stories of others. It's the only way that we can learn about each other, be inspired, and be better. Thank you.
Great speech. I can relate to it, I'm sure many of us women veterans can relate to it. And as you said, tell your journey. I have one statement I like to make when I tell my journey, especially to young people. A child cannot be what a child cannot see. And we need to tell those stories. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, before we present the certificates of recognition to the 91 veterans and service members, let us read the citation. Vallejo, here.
Thank you. So on behalf of Congressman Garamendi, I'm here to present the congressional certificates for those being honored, and I will read the first certificate. Congressional commendation presented in honor of Dolores Mack in recognition of her service, March 18, 2023. It is my honor to recognize Dolores Mack for her service as we celebrate Women's Military History Week. She is a part of a legacy of over 3 million women who have served in the armed services since the American Revolution and contributed to the strength and resilience of our military. Women have served bravely in every major U.S. conflict, but have not always received the full recognition they deserve. It is my pleasure to take the time to recognize Dolores's direct contribution to the accomplishment of our nation's mission and her honorable service that has helped ensure the security of our nation and the continued success of the armed services of the United States of America. On behalf of the people of California's 8th Congressional District, thank you for your service. Signed, Congressman John Garamendi of the California's 8th Congressional District.
Tiffany Jones is here to represent Assemblywoman Lori Wilson and State Senator Bill Dodd, and she will read the citation in the California State Legislative Certificates.
I'll be more than happy to do that again. Again, my name is Tiffany Jones. I serve as the District Director for Assemblymember Lori Wilson. And on behalf of the California's 11th Assembly District and on behalf of the 3rd Senate District, we would like to bestow this certificate of recognition to Vallejo Women's Veterans and Service Members. On behalf of the people of the 11th Assembly District and on behalf of the people of the 3rd Senate District, our offices offer our admiration and respect for your service and unwavering commitment to protecting and defending our nation. Your dedication to service is a testament to your patriotism and bravery. We extend our sincere gratitude and deepest appreciation for your service and sacrifice. On behalf of the California State Legislature, we extend our best wishes for your continued success. Bestowed on this day, March 18, 2023, Assemblymember Lori Wilson and Senator Bill Dodd.
Supervisor Aaron Hannigan, and he will read the citation and the Solano County certificates.
Hello, I'm Michael Wilson, District Representative for our County Supervisor, Aaron Hannigan. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the services the county offers to assist veterans in our Veteran Services Department. We're very proud that it's one of the top county departments in the state, and we're here to serve and assist and work with CalVet and the VA on any matters. Supervisor Hannigan's prepared a certificate of appreciation for all our recipients today, including Dolores Mack. Right here, it's a very great pleasure to see you. These certificates are presented in honor of women, California Women's Military History Week, and participation in the I'm Not Invisible campaign. Thank you for your contributions and experiences as a woman who has served in the military. Thank you for your service to our great country, and this one is for Dolores Mack.
You didn't tell me you were an official. Well, he didn't.
Mayor Robert McCall will read the citation and the City of Vallejo certificates, which he signed on behalf of the Vallejo City Council.
It is the privilege of a mayor's office to offer certificates of recognition to people who have accomplished great things in our community. And on this clear date, I wish to present this to Dolores Mack for great recognition of all of her contributions to the city of Vallejo and our grateful nation. You are an inspiration to all veterans, service members, and Americans. Dolores?
Are we all ready to get our certificates? Yes. Be sure you have your name label given to you, and now please start lining up here so we can get those certificates out to you. I will state your name, then you'll get your package of certificates. Then you shake hands with our dignitaries and then take a picture.
Veterans with name labels.
Brazil, which also serves veterans.
Dear God, we thank to you for this precious time to assemble to glorify you, and for allowing us to honor our outstanding women veterans and service members who always give their best for our country, their families, and our communities. We pray that you will continue to bless each one of us. Please watch for our safety, strengthen us to always be resilient, to bounce back from adversities, and to please inspire us to strive and to thrive to make the world a better place. We pray that you will guide all of us, and we ask you to bless us with peace, health, and happiness. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Please let us all take a moment to thank everyone here today and every day serving our families and a great nation. Please also visit the tables of various veterans organizations as well as Rebuilding Together Small County for distributing disaster safe at home kits valued at $175 only for Smile County residents. Now the band of the Golden West will perform the service songs melody. And let us hear who's the loudest to sing the songs of the Army, Navy, Marines, and the Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard.